Welcome to It's Beyond the Food podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Dodier, non-diet nutritionist and founder of the Non-Diet Coaching Certification. This is Beyond GLP-1, the Expert Series. I created this series of podcast episodes because informed consent required the full picture, not just the press release. So over the next several episodes, I'm bringing in experts to cover every angle: science, marketing, side effect, impact on body image, nutrition, health, counseling, and what all this means for you and your client. Whatever you are, a health professional navigating these conversations in your practice or someone personally researching your decision, this series is for you. Ready? Let's do this. Welcome to the podcast, Miss Sam Previt.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you. I'm going to let you introduce yourself for people listening to this to see who you are first.
Yeah. Awesome. So my name's Sam. I am a registered dietitian. I'm a certified intuitive eating counselor and a certified personal trainer and the founder of Find Food Freedom, which is a virtual private practice made up of a team of, right now we have 11 registered dietitians and certified intuitive eating counselors. And so we offer one-on-one counseling, again, fully virtual, to help people repair their relationship with food and their body. And we take health insurance, which is really exciting. We started taking health insurance back in 2024. So we are licensed in over 29 states and accept over 100 insurance plans. And I'm really proud of that because for the longest time, we didn't accept insurance and we were a much smaller team. And I've always said I want to help as many people as possible. And I realized in order to do that, we had to make this care more accessible. And I know it can be very, very hard to find providers that are weight inclusive and intuitive eating, health at every size based. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And if there's anywhere else you have questions, just let me know.
No, I think this is why you're here, is because you're the perfect person to have this conversation with, given the size of your team. You have as far as I know, the largest intuitive eating counselor, registered dietitian team. And we want to have the conversation for other practitioners, people in our community of weight neutral health, about the intersection of intuitive eating and GLP-1. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we need to talk about it because it's the reality of today. And so you have a lot of clinical experience, you and your team member. We have very little research at this point. It's clinical observation.
Yeah.
So you're the expert on this topic as far as I'm concerned. So let's have the conversation.
I love it. You're just like, and today I deem you the expert, Sam. I'm like, oh shit, here I am. But yeah, no, but you know what? I think that's kind of how it happens, right? And the reason I'm sitting here is, like you said, we have a very large team and the slow trickle started, right? Where, okay, in 2020, intuitive eating had its boom. And I say it's boom. I mean, it's been around obviously since 1995 when Evelyn and Elise wrote the book, but it really had this big boom in 2020. And everybody was really excited about intuitive eating and body positivity became this trend, not really what it was, but Instagram's whitewashed version of it. And then people were really excited about healing their relationship with food and body. And now these weight loss drugs are here. And we just started to slowly get more questions about it and slowly get more questions about it and slowly get more questions about it until the balls just started rolling down the hill faster, 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 faster. And as a practitioner, you either have to keep up or you're going to get ran over, frankly. And so we had no choice but to really learn and listen to our clients and what people are looking to talk about. And so I'm happy to share however you want to get into the combo.
Well, you said, so you put out a podcast on this, I think on February 25th. And I listened to it. I'm like, okay, we clearly have a lot to talk about.
Yep.
And you said something in there. It's, as a dietitian, it is unethical to turn away clients.
Yeah.
Right. So you are in a position that you are there to help people and you need to figure out a way to help people within the world of intuitive eating. Is that how it comes to be for you?
Yeah, great question. So I get this question a lot from younger dietitians too. They're like, do I have to work with every single client that comes to me? Or or can I only work with my air quotes ideal clients, whatever you call it. And I always say, I want to support people who want to make peace with food and their body. And when we look at the intuitive eating paradigm and the mission of intuitive eating, intentional weight loss is not a piece of the intuitive eating process, right? And so when people come to me and say, I want to lose weight, I don't look at them and say, nope, sorry, next. I would say 99.99999% of our clients have a desire to be in a smaller body just due to the world that we live in and their diet, culture, trauma, or eating disorder history or whatnot. But I think there's a very big difference between desiring weight loss and the intentional pursuit at all costs going towards weight loss. So it's very rare that because of our practice is so loud about what we preach, it is very rare that we will get a client that comes to us and says, hey, that intuitive eating thing sounds great, but I don't give a crap about it. I only want to lose weight and I will do whatever it takes. That really doesn't happen. But if it did, let's say the closest thing we get to that is okay, yeah, the intuitive eating thing sounds great, but I really want to lose weight. We will explain that, here's the intuitive eating process. Here's what it is. Here's the principles. Here's what we can do. Here's how we can talk about weight and weight science and bring that into the room. But weight loss, intentional weight loss, is never going to be a tangible thing that we measure or something we strive for or any type of measure of progress. And if that's what you want, you have full body autonomy to do so. And let's help find a practitioner or a provider who's going to be a better fit for you, because it's just not our team. And so I hope anyone who's listening hears us say that of if you want to intentionally pursue weight loss, you know what? No shade, right? No, more power to you. Go do it. But it's just, we're not going to be the right fit for you. So that's more so how I handle that conversation. But again, I think as a practitioner, that's something I had to learn, is if you want to work with the clients you want to work with, you got to be very clear about your stance and what you believe. Because I was a fence straddler, if you will, for a very long time, with one foot in diet culture and one foot in intuitive eating. And so I would get clients that were similar. And so the more I was open about sharing our beliefs about intuitive eating and anti-diet and all of these things, then you really get those clients that are looking for that. And I'm going to say one more thing, I promise I'll come up for air, is there's so much nuance here, right? Yeah. Is just that now people that are very rooted in intuitive eating, those GLP-1 claws are getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And there are people who are very firmly rooted in intuitive eating and body acceptance and all of this work. And GLP-1s are inundating that too. So that's, I think, where it gets tricky, right?
And that's another population of people.
Yes.
Right.
Very specific.
And so body autonomy. And I think when I agree with you, when intuitive eating boom in the 20s, I was going to say the 2020, we didn't clearly understood body autonomy, but I think today that's really centered to the conversation about GLP-1, because people are able to choose. What we need to do as practitioners, get really clear on our marketing and how we speak. Not the intent of this podcast, but maybe we need to have another conversation about marketing on that. So is there an intersection, that's the big question of the podcast, between intuitive eating and GLP-1?
Great question. So I say, yes, there is a way that these two can mesh together. And I think there has to be. And the first reason is, if someone comes to our practice and says, I'm pursuing intuitive eating, I need help with intuitive eating, I want to do these principles, I want to make peace with food, I want to make peace with my body, and I'm taking a GLP-1 or I want to take a GLP-1, if we turn them away as certified intuitive eating counselors, where are they going to go learn intuitive eating, right? And so I think, go back to you said earlier, that it's unethical, I think, to turn someone away from that. And so that, I think, is so important. Now, one of the biggest disclaimers I'll say to somebody when they are starting intuitive eating journey or on an intuitive eating journey with a GLP-1 is that your intuitive eating journey while you're taking while you're taking a GLP-1 is going to look vastly different than if you come off of that GLP-1 later, right? Whether it's negative side effects, you can't afford it, lack of access, you don't want to be on it, whatever the reason is. If you come off of the GLP-1, it'll probably feel like starting from scratch. And the reason why is because we know these medications suppress hunger, delay stomach emptying. They affect everybody vastly different. So how one client experiences this medication and feels symptoms is going to be different from the next person. So it's going to affect how you experience hunger and fullness and satisfaction from food and so many things. And so while we are sifting through these principles while you're on the medication, it's going to look different than if you came off of them. But I think as an intuitive eating counselor, even if you're on a medication or not, your intuitive eating journey is always going to look different. And I think of like our clients that we work with, I've, followed clients throughout years of their life we may be sifting through one principle and working through something, and then they kind of master it and they feel confident and they're moving through life, and then something happens and their body changes or whatever. And we're still going back to that. It's not this linear journey. So for me, I think, yes, we can absolutely do both with the understanding that it will look different if we come off of the medications.
I had so many questions, so many angles. Number one is, it's like an onion. I see it as an onion. As life happens, you're going to peel the next layer. I see that in perimenopause, menopausal women, because I work with an older group.
Yep.
They are being re-triggered because their body is completely changing, and we need to go back and brush off some of those principles that were well grounded 5 years ago.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. And I feel like I'm even experiencing that in my own personal journey of like now just like the stage of life I'm in and postpartum from a C-section versus a vaginal delivery and being on medications that are like, and you think like, oh, wow, a negative body thought. I haven't seen this in a while. But instead of beating myself up, I'm like, okay, interesting. Let's bring some curiosity to this, right? And where is this coming from and why is this happening? And totally relate there.
It's when we dip our toes also in functional eating. Like when you're breastfeeding, you have to sometimes eat more than what you feel hungry for. And again, that rubs off against some principle.
Oh, yeah. And all the diet culture BS and all the bullshit that moms hear of like, oh, when you breastfeed, the weight just falls off. And I'm like, that's not fucking true. When I breastfed, I was gaining weight and I was in a calorie surplus. And and then your boobs are like exploding and there's milk flying everywhere. And you're like, what is happening to my body right now?
So life changes, body autonomy is clear. However, there's also another angle to this, is that people take GLP-1 for different reasons.
Yes.
So there's people who do take it to lose weight, but there's also a growing population that are being prescribed GLP-1 that don't necessarily want to lose weight, that are being prescribed for medication purposes, diabetes, and I'm now seeing PCOS also being prescribed.
Yep.
Is a patient prescribed GLP-1 for medication for medical issue impacted in the same way as an intentional weight loss patient in your practice, or is it different impact?
That's a great question. So I think people that are getting prescribed these medications where they're like, I have no interest in intentional weight loss. Sure, they're on, a body image journey with intuitive eating. That to me isn't that different than a lot of medications because they're just at a different point clearly with their body image. I think when we have the patients that come in that are like, I am taking this because my doctor said I need to for intentional weight loss and they're interested in intuitive eating, that's where we do set firm boundaries with our clients to let them know kind of what I alluded to earlier, where the purpose of intuitive eating is not intentional weight loss. We will not be weighing you. We will not be marking your weight as a measure of progress. Yes, we can talk about weight science. We can talk about the body change. We can talk about those things. It's not like we're going to slap your wrist and shame you if we bring up the word weight. It's just seen as neutral in our practice. So we really leave a firm boundary of like anything related to like your intentional weight loss and those things are going to be talked about with your physician. We do have our providers that, you know, talk to therapists and physicians and like multidisciplinary team approach, where if they have conversations, and we will talk about, hey, how do you think, you know, this journey is impacting your relationship with food and body? So there's so much like intermingling with it, but I just want to be explicitly clear that we don't say like, oh, okay, you want to lose weight with a GLP-1. Let's talk about how we can effectively do that while intuitive eating. We're going to be focusing more on those non-scale victories of like less obsession with food, right? More variety of foods, more satisfaction from our meals, feeling nourished, feeling energized, hydrating, finding pleasure from food, right? Being able to go out on a date night and order dessert and actually enjoy it and not freak out after. Our relationship with movement, our relationship with our body. So we still focus on all of the things that somebody that's not on a GLP-1 for intentional weight loss would be focused on. But we really have to ask a lot of open-ended questions, sit with them through that. And really we do a lot of digging of why do you want to be like, we hold space for that and unpack that with them, because as providers, if somebody's on a drug for intentional weight loss, it's important that we know, why do you want to be on it, right? Like, what's the motivation there? Is it for health, air quote, and I say air quotes health because when we look at the determinants of health, there are many, 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 many things we can do that will have a positive impact on health outcomes that are completely uncoupled from the body changing. So it's like, okay, you want to genuinely improve your health? That's great. Let's talk about what we can do that's uncoupled from shrinking the body, and we'll go down that direction. Or if they say like, oh, I'm losing weight because I want to be more confident or I want self-confidence, well, then we're going to go down, you know, respect your body principle and the body image work and talk about anti-fat bias and all of like the history behind body image and body image trauma and all those things. So it's like we're holding space for them. And I have so much empathy for clients that are at a point where they're going to inject themselves with a medication, because if they're doing it because they think they have to be healthy or they have to be loved, that is just diet culture to the nth degree. And unfortunately, if there's ever a time there where they want to come off of these drugs for whatever the reason, they can't reverse what they've done to their body, like from a biological perspective of, you know, like injecting these medications and how it's impacted them. So, and that's something we're dealing with a lot of clients as they transition off of these medications and the negative side effects they've had. And so
are you starting to see the kind of, we'll call it the first wave
of
intentional weight loss patients that come off? Because the majority of intentional weight loss patients will come off. That's just the journey, right? Very few will take it for a lifetime for multiple reasons. So are you seeing the come off of the first wave?
We are seeing the come off. And it's exactly what I kind of say of what we talked about earlier of like, we're starting from scratch, because when people talk about the food noise going away, right? And the obsession going away when we are on the drug. Well, if we just turned it off with a flip of a switch, aka the drug, and now the drug's not there, now we need to address it, right?
And that's Band-Aids coming off, right? So the real problems come back up.
Yes. It's like pushing a beach ball underwater, right? You can only push it down for so long and then it pops up. And the further you push it down, the further it's going to fly up. So it's, we're definitely seeing that, whether it be people wanting to come off and feeling they're ready to come off, or the negative side effects of gastroparesis and throwing up, diarrhea, GI discomfort. So yes, the first wave has started, if you will.
So you then start over from principle one and then work your way back through each principle to help the person reinsert non-GLP life.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good question. I love asking our clients. So on our podcast, we do the first Wednesday of every month is a client testimonial. Yep. And these are just clients who, they don't have to be air quotes done, right? I don't think any of us are ever done with intuitive eating. It's just they're at a place with their journey where they really feel comfortable sharing publicly about what they've been doing. So when we do these client testimonials with our clients, I think one of the things I love most about it is that no one intuitive eating journey looks the same. Because when you had asked, when you're on an intuitive eating journey with a client on a GLP-1, do you just kind of go through 1 through 10? And if they come off, do you go through it again? And truly, when it comes to counseling, our sessions with our clients are so specific to them that and I think that is the beauty of counseling, right? Is getting to that place like we talked about of being able to sit in the suck and meet with a client and open your computer and say, how can I support you today? What's going on? And be able to help them no matter what they say. And I think a lot of times people come to, of course, we go through the intuitive eating principles and we use the intuitive eating paradigm, but it is not a like, here's steps 1 through 10, and here's how we do intuitive eating. And so that is the beauty of like, whether you're on a GLP-1 or off one or coming off one, or like, it's always going to be, what is your biggest obstacle right now and how can I support you? So when a client is on one and then comes off of one, it's not like a refresh button that we hit. Nothing really looks different in how we're showing up to session for them. It's just going to be different what they're struggling with in that moment.
As you're saying that, I can't help myself but to say, like, I hear you say 101, 101, 101. I think the time of group coaching, like putting a group of people for this particular individual, is not the right approach. So group coaching when fit to GLP-1 / intuitive eating, because it is so individual. Would you agree to that?
That's a really good point. You would have to be so hyper vigilant of screening the people that are coming into the group to ensure that like they're coming off of the GLP-1 because they don't want to pursue intentional weight loss, right? Like there'd be so many caveats. So I agree. This is just, the symptoms are different. The pressure is different. Like if anything, group coaching for intuitive eating, I think, I wouldn't do it for someone who is on a GLP-1 and pursuing intuitive eating, because there's just too many disclaimers that we'd have to put in there and trigger warnings and all of the things.
And so much deep work that needs to be done also.
Yeah.
When we think about mindset and belief work, that's not something that can be done, facilitated in a group very easily. It's a lot of individual work based on story.
Yep.
What I want to do is take us through the 10 principles of intuitive eating and see how we worked with patients or coach people through each one of those that are in GLP-1. So if we take the hunger, fullness, and satisfaction, the eating cues, understanding that we do know that GLP-1 affects interoception, therefore affect eating cues, and even satisfaction cue, that we now know that there is GLP-1 receptor on the tongue. How do we coach someone on GLP-1 through those 3 principles?
Yes, great question. So I think for hunger, it's very similar to some of our clients who have like extreme restriction, where in the beginning, they have to have a lot of structure around food, because without structure, they will simply not eat. And again, of course, when we're talking about things that we do with clients, there's so much nuance and individualism between each client. So if someone's listening, take what serves you, leave the rest. But so it could be setting alarms in your phone of like, okay, these are my structured meal times, because if I'm not getting the proper cues from my body, then I need to remind myself to eat. So it could be setting reminders in your phone, in your calendar, whatever that may be. For fullness, a lot of people are experiencing feeling fuller a lot quicker, or so this is a really, really difficult one. So we do talk about, generally speaking, again, everybody's needs are different, but like, what does an air quotes normal amount of food look like? So we're not under fueling, because we know that, hey, okay, 1,200 calories is the need of a 2-year-old. And that has been the amount of calories that has been pushed to human beings through diet culture forever. So it's like, okay, can we make sure that we're getting enough calories for our organs to function? Can we make sure that we're getting enough calories with any activity that we're doing to make sure that you have enough? So we kind of talk about just very general gentle nutrition of macronutrients and what we need for our organs to function, and to get to that place of fullness. And then when we talk about satisfaction, how we said previously, where it's really hard for some people to have fun with food. And I find this without GLP-1s. Okay, so if we even remove, this is what's really interesting, is I saw a video of someone on the internet talking about her journey with GLP-1s, and she was saying like food isn't fun anymore. And this happens with intuitive eating all the time without GLP-1s because it's not forbidden anymore, right? Once you make peace with food and you don't have things that are off limits that you air quotes shouldn't be eating, it's like, oh, it's just pizza, right? And so for years and years before GLP-1s were a big thing, that's been a big part of our practice, is kind of overcoming food boredom and how to bring fun and pleasure back into food and find what we really do like through texture and flavor and color and the cutlery that we're using, or like, just like fun things like that. So there's a lot of things that we do through intuitive eating to increase the satisfaction of food. And that's something we've been doing a lot aside from GLP-1s, but now I would say that conversation is front and center because GLP-1s have been shown to decrease satisfaction of not only food, but of life in general. So that's something that we have a keen eye for, is to ensure like our clients aren't too numbed out on life. Cause what's the fun of life if we're just going through it numb?
And what you're describing is what I call functional eating, where sometimes you just got to structure your eating. And something that I find that a lot of us in our niche, in our industry, like have pulled away sometime too much from. And GLP-1 must bring that back because people will end up under eating. And then we do know that there is nutritional deficiency hanging there. Though we have very little research, it still probably is going to become a big problem in the future.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about food noise, the whole diet mentality and the whole, like, how many thoughts we have about food. We do know, again, that GLP-1 tuned us down. But I heard somebody say last week, it turns it down too much, where now I don't think about food enough. Is that what you're seeing as well?
I mean, I have seen that with some patients, but I would say that is so, again, individualized. It depends.
Yeah.
These medications are affecting everybody differently. But I did see, I think this is like a perfect illustration of this. I saw someone's video where she was talking about her vacation being on a GLP-1. And she was like, vacations are so different now. Like, I don't wake up thinking about food all the time, and I go sit on the beach and watch the sunrise and enjoy my coffee and eat foods that make me feel pleasant and move my bodies in ways that I enjoy. And as she's like going and going and going, I'm like, this is what intuitive eating does. Like, this is intuitive eating. And I remember I stitched that video. It was a while ago. And I was like, okay, I hear you. And this is what people achieve with intuitive eating. And then I got tons of trolls in the comments being like, you don't get it. When I was on intuitive eating, I just ate everything in sight. And oftentimes I get that comment from people who have tried intuitive eating, heavy air quotes, but they've just stopped dieting. That's all they've done. And they think that that's intuitive eating. But again, it's an evidence-based practice with 10 defined principles, etc. So I think that is like when we're looking at an entire day, right? Or this life experience, I see so many parallels with intuitive eating successes and coming off GLP-1s with food noise, because that's what we do in intuitive eating. We address those voices that are in our head, and we figure out where the heck are these coming from, because we were not born into the world thinking that we're a bad person for eating food. We were not born into this world thinking that we should feel guilt, right, for eating a certain food or an amount of food. So we address, where did these come from? These are beliefs. These are not fact. So we challenge them time and time again. We have exposure to food. We use food habituation to constantly expose this food so then we aren't fearful. And like we talked about earlier, sometimes food becomes boring once you know that you can have it whenever you want. And so there's there's just so much there that's similar. And like we said earlier, it's this idea though of it's putting a band-aid. GLP-1s are putting a band-aid. It will be a quick fix to slow the food noise or to quiet the food noise. And then if we come off of the medications, we did not address why the food noise is there in the first place. Because food noise is usually two things. One, it either means you're just fucking hungry, or two, once you're eating enough food and we can kind of rule that out, it's like, okay, well, let's look at the relationship with food, right? Is there that guilt and shame? So, you could take the medication and you could do that quickly and work on intuitive eating, or we could do it with intuitive eating and you don't need the medication and we can lower that food noise. But I understand why the medication looks a lot sexier because it's a lot quicker. It's like taking a magic pill.
Yeah, it's like some people are experiencing it within 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right? But when I hear you say clearly as a practitioner, when you talk about the principle associated with diet mindset and the food noise is what I hear you talk about is doing mindset work.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just saying like diet culture is eat what you want. You're like actually looking at thoughts, beliefs, emotion.
Oh,
like you're doing the deep mindset work so people can permanently erase the food noise.
Yes. And it's not easy work, right? It's not fun. It's very emotional. It can be very traumatic to bring up a lot of bad things happen to people, a lot of abuse, sexual, physical, emotional, bullying. I mean, so it sucks to talk about that stuff, but it is some of the most rewarding work when it pays off and how freeing it can be. And that I think it's so worth it. But I don't blame people for wanting to choose diet culture, whether that be fad diets or an injectable, because it's a quicker fix. And if we don't feel comfy being uncomfortable or experiencing discomfort, then I understand. I totally understand.
And as a practitioner, if you find yourself in a place where, well, if I don't know how to do this, like to help people with food noise, and people come to me and I'm just not equipped, I think that's the piece that's missing with just reading the intuitive eating book.
Yeah.
Is how do you do the mental and emotional work so that food noise is gone?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I hear you say that you're doing in your practice to help your client with.
Yeah. And I think as a provider, it's kind of what I just said, like how it, for a person going through it, they have to be able to sit in the discomfort. I mean, that's what you have to be able to do as a provider, right?
Yeah.
And I think so much of that comes with time and experience. I mean, I think of myself as a baby counselor and I just cringe. I cringe. Oh my gosh, if I could be a fly on the wall and I remember some of the things I said, but that's growth, right?
Yeah.
And I think, we are in the nutrition space where there is a lot wrong with our fields and we have a long way to go. And we get brought up in this system of education, which like tells us we're the experts and point your finger and blah, 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 almost like authoritarian form of counseling. And it's like, no, we sit there with our clients and we're like, this fucking sucks. Like, tell me about it. And like, tell me more. And we're with it. We're in the suck with them. As Brie Campos says, we are sitting in the suck.
Sucks.
And you have to be able to do that with your clients if you want to help them. And it's really uncomfortable. And so that took, so with my team of counselors, we did Brie Campos. We did a 6-month training with her because, as dietitians, we don't have body image continuing education, right? We don't have credentials. So it's very important to get that additional support, which I know takes money and time and a lot of privilege to be able to do so.
But that's the solution for the food noises that GLP gives, right? Because we're going to come to the last bit of principle, which is about the body, relationship to the body and the habits of movement. That is not something we learn in nutrition and like the intellectual knowledge of nutrition. It's all behavior, mindset, and coaching.
Yes.
So let's talk about body image, right?
Yeah.
How do we help someone who's we'll leave the medical use of GLP-1 aside, and we'll look at a client that's on an intentional weight loss and doing intuitive eating and talking about body image.
Yeah. Again,
Sticky.
it's so sticky, right? Well, I think we're looking at, okay, what is your relationship with your body? And a lot of the like exercises and reflections and modalities that we would do with body image work with someone who's not on a GLP-1, we
Yeah.
would still do with clients on a GLP-1. It's just we know that they're not as far into this anti-diet, health at every size, intuitive eating work because they're still holding on to intentional weight loss, right? So it's kind of going back to what we talked about earlier of like, tell me why. And I just want to gather as much as I can from the client of tell me more. Why do we want to lose weight? Okay, I want to love myself more. Tell me why. When is a time that you didn't feel love due to your body, right? And you're creating this web. And I believe you said Marcy Evans was going to be on this
Yep.
series as well. I did Marcy Evans and Fiona Sutherland's body image certification years ago. And I love they have, and Marcy may have talked about it on here, I don't know, but they have a body image story reflection exercise that I've never forgotten, where it talks about, okay, our body image is like a tree. So you have your roots, which are the foundation, right? What were those primary messages you were given about body image, and how have they impacted how you think about your body and bodies in general? Then the trunk of the tree is your current relationship with your body. And then the leaves and the branches are where do you want that relationship with your body to be, and what would be an ideal relationship. And so we really use that kind of story and that evolution of body image with our clients, and unpacking something like that takes many, 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 many sessions, right? And brings up a lot of stuff and helps inform body image. And it's been really interesting to see throughout our work too, that as people become more accepting of their body and become more neutral with their body, there are some that eventually come off of the GLP-1, and not because we're sitting there saying you should come off the GLP-1. Like, that's not it. But it's really cool to see, like, we're there to hold space for them, whether they want to take the drugs or not, or they thought about it, or they did, or they didn't. Like, this is, again, a non-judgmental space. And I think being able to do that is so important, because there are not a lot of healthcare providers that are truly unbiased, right? And again, we all are constantly working on our biases and challenging them, and nobody's perfect. But to be able to be that safe space for a client and be like, I don't care if you're on it or off it. Like, it doesn't, obviously, like, I care about your health, but like, to just give them that permission to do whatever, and chat with them and dig up stuff and let them make the decisions, it's really invaluable.
You know what comes up for me as you say that? It makes sense because let's imagine we have a patient on GLP-1 for, in part, intentional weight loss, and you keep doing the same model of work. You keep doing the body image work, and you keep unpacking the core belief. The pain related to their body, their emotional suffering, lessen and lessen. And the cost of being on GLP-1, with whatever symptoms, financial cost, the burden of that then becomes greater than the burden of being in their body.
Yeah.
So
I
it
love
makes
that.
sense that we, in part, not because we want them to come off, but we're lessening the burden.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make the GLP-1 perhaps as attractive.
Yeah. Because if they start to accept their body and they don't think it needs to change, and again, going back to what we talked about earlier, if they want to genuinely improve their health, that's wonderful. But like, health is not a moral obligation. So if they're coming to us and they start to be more accepting of their body, they're more neutral in their body, maybe they're even respecting their body, and they're making these positive changes for physical, mental, and emotional health, and then they're like, oh wait, I don't have to be on this to impact my health in a positive way, and they're starting to have all these behavior changes, then it makes total sense. And so it's really rewarding to see that change with people, for sure.
And that puts them in a better position at some point if they leave the GLP-1 to be able to reintroduce life with less negative impact.
Yes.
So let's talk about health promoting behavior, because part of our work is helping people build health promoting behavior outside of intentional weight loss. Is there a specific approach for people on GLP-1, or it's the same health behavior approach?
I mean, I think for all of our clients, it's really when we're meeting with them, it's like, what is your biggest obstacle? Like,
Okay.
how can we help you? Because we can have like a perfect plan in place and then they come on the call like, crying about something and then it's like, "Oh, we're not going here today. We're going the complete opposite way." And that's fine, right? We want to be able to help them in whatever way possible. But when we're looking at individual behaviors as an intuitive eating dietitian, we're looking at the variety of foods that they eat, consistent fuel and nourishment throughout the day, hydration, stress
Oh, yes.
management, sleep hygiene, as well as movement that they enjoy and rest, right? Depending on our client and their needs. So we're really taking a full approach there. And with those, I think it's more like, what does that individual client need in that moment? Because some people have a wonderful relationship with movement and that's how they find community through group fitness. And so like they don't need to work on their relationship with movement versus someone else might be working from home and have a really stressful job and not have a lot of interaction with other humans and, their relationship with movement feels very shameful or so it's like, okay, let's, where do you want to start with that? And so I think it depends on the person. I like to think of each client as a puzzle and we kind of determine what are the first four things. What are those corner pieces, right? When you're finding a puzzle, I'm always looking for the corner pieces first. What are those cornerstones that we want to prioritize? And I think we obviously help our client figure those out, but a lot of times they already know and we're just there to kind of help prompt them along of what we need to get to.
And we help them also know how to build habits.
Yes.
So when life after GLP-1 happened, they can take that skill set and apply it in their life.
Yep.
What else am I missing when it comes to intuitive eating principle and an approach? So it would be specific.
That's a good question. About GLP-1 specifically, that would be
And intuitive
different.
eating.
Well, thinking about principle number one, rejecting the diet mentality, right? That is leaving behind the idea that chasing a smaller body is better or healthier. So I think that one is very conflicted.
Yes.
Because that is what intuitive eating is all about, right? And a GLP-1, if we're taking it for intentional weight loss, does not align with that. So it's not that it necessarily needs to be like handled any certain way, but maybe more so just going back to those like boundaries that we talked about from the beginning of like, we are not measuring your progress of weight loss. Talking about too, one thing I would say maybe that's different with body image perspective and body image work that I have done with clients that aren't on GLP-1s, but specifically if a client does start to lose weight and they start getting comments like talking about that and what that brings up for them. Because I've had many clients lose weight on intuitive eating journeys, bodies change, but it's neutral, right? And so we don't celebrate that. But then my clients will often get comments from loved ones, "Oh my God, you look so great. What are you doing?" Because they always used to be the chronic dieter and their family or friends or loved one is used to that. And then they feel uncomfortable getting those comments and they don't want it to be about their body. So on the flip side there, I think thinking about that from a body image perspective of what does it mean for you if you're getting these compliments of a smaller body and how does that make you feel? And a lot of self-worth work, for sure.
And setting up an environment where commenting on my body is just not something I'll do anymore.
Yep.
On GLP-1 or not, it's just something that I won't do because there is impact of that. And learning to set the boundaries around that, that's again just a life skill.
Yep.
Okay. What about people that are coming off? We talked a little bit about people coming off of GLP-1 while doing intuitive eating. Is there a specific approach when people are leaving GLP-1 that you take your client through?
Again, I feel like all of this is so nuanced.
One by
and I know
one.
that's such like an overused term and it feels redundant here, but I think the difference is that they're getting professional support, right? Like it's important to have professional support with these medications, like whether you're on them, whether you're thinking about getting on them, getting off of them, but transitioning off them, especially because it is impacting your body physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so I think getting professional support is so, so important. And no, we don't have like protocols necessarily of, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But it's just as you are on an intuitive eating journey, you're building that introspective awareness and that connection with your body. So making sure that we're really checking in on those touch points of like, are we nourishing consistently? Are we hydrating? Being aware of negative thoughts as they enter and how we're speaking to our body. Just being very aware and putting that curiosity cap on and just being in conversation with our clients. We have a HIPAA compliant platform, which we can message with our clients similar to texting. And so knowing that they have support, I think is just so, so helpful because it's such a tricky time. And especially like if they open the phone and then they see more GLP-1 ads and it's like, am I doing the right thing? Should I stay on? Like, so there's all that like dissonance that kind of enters. So it's just being there for them and knowing that like whatever struggle they have, we're in it with them.
Yeah. And looking back, revisiting the principle of intuitive eating in the aftermath of the GLP-1 and triggering those conversations.
Yeah.
So they're not left behind.
Yes. And knowing that like it's okay if when you come off of it, if the food noise comes rushing back or like, I think that's a great point of like expectations are such a big part, whether you're on a GLP-1 or not, because it's hard when you're coming from diet culture or on a medication where things are very like structured and linear or tangible, and intuitive eating is messy and gray area and different. And so I think level setting expectations that like it's okay. It's okay if things change. It's okay if this happens. And nothing is final. I think so much of life we get so caught on like when we're stressed out, like this feels permanent, and it's like, let's just like take a breath. Like it's important and it's important to talk about, but whatever you're going through in this moment, it's not permanent, and we can work through it together.
And people want permanency because they want relief from suffering.
Yes, which I don't blame them.
Right? So the best skill we can teach our client is how to deal with suffering. So this illusion of being done and never again suffering will happen can kind of be normalized. And then we can like, okay, bring it on. Something will change. Yep. And I'll be able to cope with it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, because diet culture just sells this idea like, well, if I just lose the weight, then I'll be happy and things will be great. Even though the majority of our clients, like even if they're on a GLP-1, they have existed in a smaller body at some point throughout their diet cycle. And I'll ask them, were you happy? And it's like, no, it was never enough. It was never enough. Maybe I got the external validation that felt good, but I didn't love myself. I wasn't happy. And so if we weren't happy then in a smaller body, what makes us believe that like this is it? And it just proves how insidious diet culture is and how deeply, deeply it is entrenched in our society.
So if we are working our way to close the podcast, and we'll come back to the question, can intuitive eating coexist with GLP-1? What is the answer?
Yes.
From your perspective.
Yes, and.
Yes.
Yes, and. Right? Yes. And everything we just talked about, where it's just, it is so nuanced, so individualized. It will not look the same as if you come off of the GLP-1, but yes, you can do it. And it's very important to get someone's professional support who can help you and hold space for you along that journey, no matter what happens, from a fair, unbiased place.
I'll answer it 2 ways. Yes, it can coexist based on why you're taking the GLP-1. Number one, let's separate the two categories. Mm-hmm. And then 2, I believe that GLP-1 and intuitive eating can coexist for the benefit of the patient or the client. Mm-hmm. Like we have to find a way to support people instead of just shutting the door to say no.
Yes.
We need to be flexible as practitioners, and we need to work on whatever we can work with them while they're with us so that they can be better.
Yes. Yes. I love that, Stephanie.
So where can we find you, Sammy?
I would say the easiest place is on Instagram at find.food.freedom. And that has all of the links that we have where you can get your insurance benefits checked and just pop in your state and your insurance plan and see how much coverage we have.
And I saw on your website, you do mentoring for professional as well, right?
Yes. I'm always happy to talk with new dietitians or just dietitians in general that are in the field that, want support, because it's tricky and we're always learning and growing.
Yeah. So we'll put the link to your website and also to the episode that got me to invite you to this podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you. Want to coach behaviors, not bodies? Learn the mindset tool and the method that create real changes? Join the waitlist for the next cohort of the non-diet coaching certification at stephaniedodier.com/waitlist. That's where the real training begins. And I'll see you on the other side, my sisters.